I think you can do like a close-up of just the earring. It tells a story, which you can't really do without a photographer, and I'm not capable of taking the kind of quality images that Michelle is. Together we'll come up with a theme and a mood board, and she'll make my images become real.
I really try to look for the images kind of in between movement and in between posing. So I might put someone in one situation, then ask them to like look over their shoulder, and in that moment when they're looking away is when you get a really natural kind of fluid image. Oh, those are gorgeous.
Oh my god, yeah. That's just perfect. Shows the scale as well.
I can crop this one into a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's really good. Yeah, that's perfect.
We're just far away still. Okay.
So my name's Louise Payjack-Guillou, and the business is called Atelier in Stone. It's been 10 years in the making, me making jewellery, 5 years training at school, and then another 5 years, and you're kind of learning something every day. I'm doing metal smithing, I'm doing forging, soldering, stone setting, claw setting, bezel setting. I love to make and design whilst I'm doing it. So I'll, take my wire, I'll start bending it, I'll see how it feels. You're kind of discovering, what the materials want to be, and I find that really satisfying. And in England, if you're going to go and do an art degree, you have to do ceramics, metal smithing, graphic design, fine art. You basically do a bit of everything. And what I loved about the metal smithing is that you got to take an idea that you thought of, and then you got to actually make it. You get to do the whole process, and there was something really gratifying about that. The style of jewellery that I'm making, I kind of think of it as sort of rough-luxe. I use rose-cut stones, which is a technique that's been around since the 1600s. And people used to do it using it was a technique that you could use hand tools to do, so it's not quite as perfect as brilliant cut stones, which is what people normally think of for engagement rings. So they're flat on the back and faceted on the top, and the facets aren't always exactly perfect or the same size, but the light hits them kind of more subtly and more beautifully. And so I think of them as kind of more of a sort of naturalistic way of stone cutting, which I really like. I think people love handmade things because you can actually see the fingerprints of somebody who's made them. All these little imperfections that maybe machine-made things don't have are actually what make handmade things beautiful.
Her product being so high-end, it's really important that it is presented that way, especially with jewelry being so reflective and having so many facets and the light moving around so much. You've really kind of got to pay attention to these really subtle things.
I've done a step bezel on the earrings that I'm working on at the moment. So there's an outer wall and there's an inner wall. And that means that there's basically a frame that the stone can sit against. With this, because it had beautiful greens and blues running through it and a lot of striations in the stone, I wanted the light to pass through, plus it's quite a pale colour, and so the light is really going to enhance that. And I'm kind of envisioning these as a sort of romantic, modern take on something that you could wear as wedding jewellery, because they're, something blue, but they're in a form that's not what people would normally think of. Pearls and diamonds are where people, traditionally went when they were thinking of what am I going to put with my wedding dress. And I think people are getting braver and they're exploring new ways to wear jewellery, and that's a really fun thing to be part of. All right, that's going to be hopefully beautiful tomorrow when that's polished. So they're tourmaline, blue and green tourmaline. You could do something like that to frame it,
Yeah.
or otherwise the other photos like this, which is like a lens. We're doing some work on my website. I'm kind of branching into some of the non-traditional bridal jewellery that we're talking about. I'm working with salt and pepper diamonds and rose cuts and some really interesting things, and so we're going to showcase that. To signet or not to signet? Yeah, photography helps to tell the story. I think designers are realising more and more that people are actually, rather than going to people's websites, they're shopping on Instagram.
Both of them together?
Yeah, or maybe stack the signet with one of these textured guys.
I don't think it fits on.
So Michelle and I have this great symbiotic relationship. I met her through my networking group. There's a great one in Duluth called the Rising Tide Society, and it's a networking group that's specifically for creative people, and it's about community over competition. So there's lots of things involved where you get together and you collaborate rather than thinking like, this is my thing, stay off, you know.
I think we can start with what she has on and get like this, and this.
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. My dream client are all artists and musicians, craftsmen. I like working with people when they have a lot that we can work on together. So with jewelry, you have the product shot, you have like really tight in images. Working with models and doing things that are more atmospheric are always really fun too. Especially with Louise, she always has hair and makeup, and not a lot of people, especially in Duluth, kind of a lot for those sorts of things in their budget.
We live in a really visual culture. Everything is about how it looks. And so working with somebody who knows what they're doing, who's got a great eye, is completely invaluable.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.